They have no evidence of collusion. Nobody's presented any evidence. So now after they find none, then they say, well, we'll reopen this as soon as we can. Adam Schiff actually making a promise to reopen the Russiagate investigation if the Democrats retake the House. Why? Because the House collusion investigation has ended, and rightly so, because they have found nothing, and it's been a 14-month ordeal at this particular point in time. That's only part of the news today. Big part of the news is that Andrew Mccabe may get fired before his time is up, according to reports now today, and that's pretty interesting. Maybe this is a preview of what's going to be coming out in the IG report. Joining us now, Sara Carter, Fox News contributor, investigative reporter. David Schoen is with us, civil rights criminal defense attorney. Dan Bongino, former Secret Service agent, NRA TV contributor, and host of the Dan Bongino Show. Welcome all of you. Sara, let's start with you. And first, let's start with Mccabe and what's happening with him today. And where is this coming from all of a sudden from the AG?
Yeah, this is really fascinating. I mean, we're looking at Mccabe has until Sunday, right? And then he'll be able to collect on his retirement. And right now what we're hearing from media reports, and I've contacted some sources of mine as well, is that there's a great possibility that Mccabe will be fired before he can do that. So this will then change everything. It also changes what may be coming out in that IG report. There may be some very incriminating evidence that has been collected by Michael Horowitz against Mccabe. We already know that McCabe's being looked at for lying and for leaking. So there's a couple of major issues at play here. I did speak with the Department of Justice, and they gave me an official statement. They said that the department follows a prescribed process by which an employee may be terminated. That process includes recommendations from career employees, and no termination decision is final until the conclusion of that process. We have no personal announcements at this time. So they are not denying that Mccabe is being looked into. They are saying that there is a process that must be contended with, and then they will base that decision and make an announcement.
It sounds like one's coming. Otherwise, why would it be leaking, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. David Schoen, what's interesting and fascinating about this is, we still have all of these people that are working, and one has to wonder why, especially people like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page that are still there. And then I want to know in particular, what is their connection to Rod Rosenstein and all of this also?
I think you're asking the right question, Mr. Hannity. Absolutely. There's absolutely no justification for these people still to be in this business, period. What has been exposed so far is as outrageous as anything one might imagine in this field. I don't know why we're keeping that status quo. And, we haven't even touched on the idea of the foxes who are watching this hen house. And that is, again, Mr. Weissman, Mr. Mueller. It's really beyond belief.
It seems, Dan Bongino, that when you listen to Adam Schiff, and I actually thought Meghan McCain just tore him up on The View the other day. And, well, you said we were getting all this information. Tell us what it is. What do you have? You keep making these allegations. Where is it? And this was prior to the House Intel Committee saying, okay, the investigative part of Trump-Russia collusion is over, and we found no evidence of such.
Yeah, Sean, Adam Schiff is a disgrace. He's a disgrace to his constituents, to the country. He's a disgrace to the Congress. Frankly, he's a disgrace to humankind. He's a liar. He's a sniveling rat. And he goes on to television, and he goes on to CNN, and he's auditioning for a job on CNN or MSNBC, trying to bump up their lagging ratings, and he lies. I get it. A lot of invective probably doesn't help the case, but I mean every word of that. The guy's a snake. Everything he said in that soundbite when you opened up, he knows is a lie. And yet he goes on television and he lies about it over and over again. He knows damn well that Don Trump Jr. meeting, however bad of an idea it was, point stipulated, there is not a scintilla of evidence that anything that happened in that meeting is in any way remotely collusion or criminal. It was a bad idea. But, Sean, one last thing on this. You don't have a secret meeting, by the way, at Trump Tower. You do it out in, the woods somewhere, and you don't share the contents of it on email. It was not a secret meeting. It was just a bad idea. That guy's a liar.
I've never believed, Sara, either, that it was a coincidence that Fusion GPS, one of the co-founders, is meeting with this Russian woman who did meet at Trump Tower both before and after the meeting. Sounds to me like there was some type of setup involved in that, or a coincidence that is just, it it just doesn't meet the smell test for me.
No, it doesn't, and I was just going to say that. Dan's absolutely right about that meeting. I would have taken it one step further, Dan, and I would have said the collusion looked like it was between Fusion GPS and the Russians.
Yes.
And Natalia Veselnitskaya, who was the attorney who represented, let's go back to some of her history, the FSB, which is the KGB's CIA. I mean, it was the former KGB. I mean, so she was working with FSB agents. She was representing them. She also worked with Renaissance Capital. Remember Renaissance Capital, which is also tied to the FSB, which paid Bill Clinton $500,000 for a speech he gave. And there's a lot of connections here that should be more evident. I mean, those are that side of the evidence is what should be investigated, which is the reason why you see so many people up in arms. There has been no evidence of collusion between President Trump's campaign, President Trump, his family, and the Russians at all that anyone has found yet. And this has been more than 14 months of investigation, and Adam Schiff cannot let this go. And others, former Obama administration officials, can't seem to let it go either.
But doesn't it seem
tweeted it out yesterday, and I said, well, give us the proof then. You're the head of the CIA. Cough up the proof.
It seems that everything, though, has ricocheted and boomerang back onto the Democrats, because every time we move further, well, as a result, we discovered that, in fact, there was an exoneration of Hillary on the email server scandal. I assume at some point we get to the bottom of that, David. And then we learn, of course, we didn't know for a year, but then we find out, well, the dossier was bought and paid for by Clinton. And then we find out about all the FISA abuses as it relates to, presenting information to a court that's unverified, not corroborated, and, of course, false. And
on and on and on and on. And as you have said before, Mr. Hannity, maybe one of the biggest scandals, certainly in many, many years that we've seen. But the reason it keeps boomeranging, of course, is because this is like backwards or upside down day. Had anyone in the real world been presented with all of these facts, the immediate investigation would have been on Steele and Page and GPS Fusion and all that went on that side. Instead, we're working backwards now and stumbling onto these things. And as Sarah has just said, I mean, these are really the outrageous facts.
And I agree. And it's a matter of how is it possible that Robert Mueller doesn't investigate? If part of his mandate is to look at collusion in the campaign, and now that we've discovered that Hillary paid for this phony dossier with Russian lies and Russian propaganda, where's the obligation on the part of Robert Mueller, Dan Bongino, that he look into that, or that he look into the FISA abuse side of this?
Sean, the Mueller thing is a smokescreen. Trump was set up. The team was framed. They need Mueller because they can't have people pay attention to what the guy the team was set up. Sean, look at the three people who interact with the Trump team, right? Who are sources of information in this. Sergei Milian, the inventor of the golden shower story. He randomly connects with Papadopoulos and then finds Fusion GPS. Emin Agalarov, the Agalarov guys that send the email and set up the Don Jr. meeting. They randomly send a lawyer who's working with Fusion GPS, working for Hillary, and one more guy, Alexander Downer. He's associated with the Australian government, a $25 million deal to the Clinton Foundation. He's the one who starts the whole investigation into Trump. Listen, general public, open your eyes. The guy was framed, and the Mueller investigation's a smokescreen. The whole thing's a scam.
All right,
It's a dangerous smokescreen, though. It's a dangerous smokescreen because it puts in jeopardy a duly elected president, a year, more than 14 months of an investigation, and the United States is more partisan than ever and split straight down the middle. And it's a very dangerous smokescreen, and it was a very dangerous game.
We'll take a break. We'll come back more with David Schoen, Sara Carter, Dan Bongino. All right, as we continue with Sara Carter and David Schoen and Dan Bongino, David, I just ask you, how is it possible that we're up to this point, 14 months of an investigation, Democrats have no evidence, they don't want to let it go, but we do know that a FISA court was lied to. We do know that they withheld information about who paid for that dossier. We do know the fix was in for Hillary Clinton as it relates to the email server scandal. And we know, and we actually have real evidence. The media never talks about it in this country. I feel like, there's all of us here, and then there's this alternative reality that these other people live in that is not full of truth, evidence, or any sense of what law and justice is.
Alternative reality, unfortunately, hits it right on the head. Listen, I mean, you've had this discussion before, and I think quite rightly so. I hate to say these words because we've seen now this special counsel go down every rabbit trail, cost us millions and millions, and God only knows how many millions of dollars chasing irrelevant avenues. But the fact of the matter is, it seems to me, there's going to have to be another special counsel appointed. You asked earlier, Mr. Hannity, why Mr. Mueller isn't investigating Clinton, et cetera. We certainly don't want that to be the case. Look, the IG is a wonderful guy, a longtime friend of mine. He's an honest man. He's overworked right now. He's got a lot on his plate and a lot of...
Yeah, but he doesn't have any prosecutorial powers. He has no power to do anything.
That's right, and that's an important point. To go back to Main Justice and ask people there who've been involved in this conflict all along and have many conflicting interests is wrong, in my view.
Well, how do we interpret, Sara, that the AG announced last week that he has, in fact, a couple of months now, hired a former prosecutor to be looking into FISA abuse issues? How are we to interpret what's actually going on at the Justice Department when a lot of people are frustrated because it seems like nothing is happening?
Well, it seems like nothing is happening because we're not getting all the information from the Justice Department because this is an ongoing investigation. So one thing that we can take some solace in is that there is a prosecutor out there looking at every nook and cranny of this FISA abuse, as well as the uranium one, as well as the dossier. So they are looking at all of these issues, and they will make those recommendations then to the AG. And those recommendations will be to either seek prosecution, to open a case, to call for a special counsel. We don't even know right now, Sean, if a grand jury has already been convened in some of this. Because remember, this is very tight-lipped. We're getting a lot of leaks from Mueller, of course, and from his investigation. But remember, these are considered very classified. They don't want to talk about grand juries, even if they're convened. So we really don't know what's going on. What we do know now from the Attorney General himself is that there is a prosecutor looking into this, and this is highly, highly significant and very, very important. And I believe that we will soon know who that prosecutor is.
All right, it's going to be interesting. We're looking forward to it. It's about time we get some movement here.